Ever wake yourself up by snoring? Yeah, I've done that. I hate it. I'm just like, there's a gross man in my room, and like, oh no, it's me.
Hey, welcome to episode 57 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Nick. I'm here with Saveun.
Hey, Nick.
And Blake.
Hi.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good.
Pretty comfy.
You look very comfy.
Yeah, you're splayed out on my couch here.
Yep. You look like you've just undergone some therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Or just
But
about
then
to.
Some physical therapy.
Well, I guess. It does look like you started to doze off in the middle of therapy, and then
Yeah. I did actually have acupuncture.
that's true.
Yeah.
He did have acupuncture. He had someone sticking needles in his arm,
Mm-hmm.
but then after that, he had some acupuncture.
Oh shit. Oh.
We don't have a huge amount specific to talk about this week. I've been playing the new Hearthstone expansion, and I've been playing some random mobile games. But mostly we've all just been working pretty hard.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work.
Yep.
And I've just been playing Zelda, and it's like we've talked about Zelda for probably like 4 podcasts in a row.
At least 2 or 3 podcasts. Yeah.
Wait, we had do you guys how do you feel about talking about your long weekend? We had an Easter break recently. Did you guys get up to anything interesting?
Oh right.
I feel like you're trying to get.
Oh wait.
No, I'm not.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Because I don't really remember.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you-
Let's
Oh,
dodge
mate,
that. Let's not talk about it.
I'll tell you what I did. What was it? Good Friday, right? Was yeah. Oh mate.
Oh wait, there was a storm.
Was there?
Remember?
Oh yeah. There was
There
actually
was-
yes. There was a big storm, but it totally missed Auckland.
Yep.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah,
warnings and stuff. You know what I did on Easter weekend?
What's that?
Nothing.
I
Nice.
I went to work on that Friday.
I went to work on Easter
Even
Sunday.
like through that storm.
Through that storm, man.
Yeah.
That's how dedicated I am.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
impressive.
I just walked through that light rain. That just like
The drizzle,
yeah. That just it wasn't even
Crazy.
the drizzle. It was like that rain that's just like
like almost a mist.
yeah, like a mist. It was
Yeah.
like that.
A mist that's
Fog,
sort of
I think
drifting
it's
It
called.
downwards.
was like a fog. Yeah.
A heavy fog.
It was like a heavy, wet fog. It's like a wet fog. Yeah.
New game called Wet Fog.
Wet fog.
Sequel to Heavy Rain.
Yeah, just called wet fog.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been doing much. Saveun, you been playing much?
I hadn't played any more Horizon. I will at some point. I just haven't this week.
Yep.
Before
Before we
a couple go over it.
before we jump past Horizon, we talked a little bit about you and Horizon at work.
Mm.
You were kind of you sounded a little disenfranchised, a little worn out of Horizon.
Nick, you're putting your something. No,
You're
dude,
you're projecting your own
Yeah,
hatred onto
this is what
them.
you said. This is almost a direct quote. You said, "Hi, I'm Saveun, and I don't like Horizon." No.
Also, Nick is really cool.
No, you basically said when I asked why you hadn't really been playing it very much, because you seemed very excited about it initially. You said, "Well, it's just sort of like it's too much like The Witcher," which I thought was interesting because you hadn't played The Witcher. But on top of that, what you were more getting at was that it's an RPG, and you're not big into RPGs.
yeah, there is some of that,
Yeah,
but I'm starting to think graphically it's not great.
Oh,
interesting.
wow. Is it just the lip sync and face animations?
Kind of. The main character doesn't have as much polish as. Yeah, I guess I'm comparing it to Uncharted, so it's you know.
Right. That's a tough
Yeah, I know.
thing, though. I
It's
mean,
an open world game with
What-
a linear single player.
but also like, what other game holds up to Uncharted?
The Order.
Shit. Yeah, but
Visually?
that was not a very good game. Like,
I'm just talking about models, character
right,
models.
right.
if you're talking about like character models, Moana, pretty good.
Oh, that 3D
Yeah,
animated thing.
that video game that you can't interact with at all,
Mm.
but it is on a TV.
Yep. That what is it? Not real time rendered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Played some of that Mario mobile game.
Is it Mario Run? Super Mario Run, I think is what it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
I tried playing that as well.
Yeah?
What did you think of that?
It was cool. I'll get back to that.
Okay.
But a couple months ago, and some of you may know, I was working on my first mobile game called Hearthstone.
Yep.
Yep.
It took the longest time for me to finish the freaking iOS version.
Very long time.
Yeah, 6 months, and I released that a couple months ago. It's good. I finished it. I can now put it behind me. the goal was to get Android and iOS versions out.
Right.
Yeah, you wanted to go through the process of not just developing the game, but launching it as a product, right?
Yeah.
That was part
On
of
both
your-
platforms. That was my goal.
Yeah.
My initial goal.
Yeah, and let's talk about what did you learn?
Dude, some people, I had to, I had to find.
You're looking straight at me when you say that.
I had to
don't know.
find freelancers to work with programs and
Yeah.
such. And I'd worked with a handful of people throughout its development. I'd worked on the game for like 3 years, outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it, I was working with this one developer, Noah. Great. She's out in Egypt, and
Whoa.
she helped a whole bunch with the Android version. She doesn't own a Mac.
Oh, yeah.
So we were just going to work on the Android version,
Yep.
get that out. And we'd launched it September last year, I think. And so from that point, it was I took a 2-week break and then tried to find another developer to work with on the iOS version.
Mm-hmm.
And that was difficult because you're almost like just sending out, you're cold calling these random people you don't know, and you're
Right,
like, hey man,
right.
I've got this finished game.
Yeah.
I want to make an iOS version. Had microtransactions and achievements to add. But outside of that, it was pretty basic. It was hard finding someone to just work on it. But I had found people. And then we stumbled across this one error.
Yeah.
What was the error?
It's a Unity problem.
Okay.
And everyone I talked to about it couldn't fix it. And after a couple of weeks of them looking into it, they would turn around and say, "This is a Unity problem. Wait for the next version of Unity,
Oh my
and it will
God.
be fixed in that version."
Wow.
And they would link me to certain things, and then I'd be like, "Okay, fine." We'd not work together because that's how they left it.
Yeah.
And then I'd look for another person to help me.
Oh, Jesus.
It happened for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I met a guy from America. He sounded like this energetic kid.
Okay.
Really keen on helping out.
Yeah.
Like I could sense enthusiasm in the email.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, cool. And it's a young kid. I'll
Yeah.
give him a chance. He can work on my game.
How old was he?
20.
Okay.
So he's probably still studying then.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
actually. The catch was he was like, hey, can you pay me up front?
Oh.
Yeah. You know where this is going. And so he didn't do anything. And we did this transaction over PayPal.
Oh no! Really?
Yeah, I know. And when it came to disputing it,
Yeah.
they went with him and denied my appeal.
Wow. How much did you pay him?
It was peanuts.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But it was still annoying to deal with
Yeah.
this cocky ass
Yeah.
person. And to leave it like that as well.
Yep.
That really hurt.
So, it sounds like the big mistake here was paying up front and
Of course.
and putting trust in this person who, despite their enthusiasm, hadn't actually shown you any work yet.
Yep. What it was assuming from my end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to be a nice guy really ruins you. That's what
Yes.
happens.
Being trusting
Yep.
without
Yeah.
you get burned once, and that's enough to make you bitter.
Yep. So
Which
so now I'm
explains so much about.
so now I'm bitter. And these months passed, and Noah contacts me again.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, I've just been ruined by working with these 4 people.
Yeah.
No progress. And, I had started exporting iOS versions just on my machine.
Right.
And she was like, "Hey, why don't you copy and paste the error the logs, so I can have a look at that." Did that. She committed a fix that night.
Wow.
And it was working the next day.
Nice.
Amazing.
It was so freaking annoying because we'd lost 5 months at that point.
Yeah.
So there, I was like, Noah's this legend.
Jesus. Who does she work for? Is she just freelance?
Yeah, she is.
Wow.
So that's Turret Town, now available on iOS and Android.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna pimp it out for you.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, we'll put a link on the Facebook.
it's my first video game.
Well, so let's
Pretty
talk
great.
about the broader experience of developing the game. We've talked about the last 6 months trying to polish off specifically the iOS version. But like you said, you've been working on it for 3 years. I remember talking to you about it when we were in our old office. We talked about it at one of the lunches, like standing outside on the balcony. I remember you said you were working on something.
Mhm.
You didn't want to tell me what. You didn't really want to tell anybody what.
Here's the initial idea, and this, remember, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Mobile games were pretty big back then.
Unlike now, no one plays mobile games.
Well, it wasn't
Hearthstone.
as saturated back then.
It's been saturated for about
It's been saturated for a
Like,
long
yeah,
time.
like
Yeah.
7 years.
But
Easily.
well, what I'm saying is, I felt like, well, it's the first game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
you're feeling good about it. You thought you
And so a lot of the core ideas of Turret Town was something developed for a mobile platform.
Yep.
Which is controls the garbage. People love to just set things in motion and watch. It's this passive kind of gameplay. And so I was like, what would that be?
Is that like an idle game? Is that
Kind of.
not quite. An idle game is usually so. Idle games don't really have failure cases.
okay?
An idle game is more about persistent growth, and oftentimes idle games will have exponential growth.
Right.
So, one of the best examples is a game called Adventure Capitalist.
Oh,
Have you
yeah,
seen
I've
that
seen
one?
people play that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that game is bananas, by
Have
the
you
way.
played that?
Sorry, success. Like the success around that dumbass game. Yes, it's a congregate game that just blew up.
Yeah, but I can see why you would think it's kind of silly that it was so successful, but what it does very well.
No, I know.
It's an easily to track system of rewards, basically. You start off like with a lemonade stand or whatever, and you're making $1 every 3 seconds or whatever it is, and then you upgrade it. And you buy a second lemonade stand. Now you're making $2 every 3 seconds, and you buy enough that suddenly now you can afford to get I don't know, let's say a fast food joint or whatever, and now you're making like $30 every 3 seconds or whatever it is, and then you buy a used car lot and you start selling cars and you're making hundreds of dollars a second. At some point you're like buying planets and stuff, right?
Oh my god!
And then oftentimes these games will have a system where you can restart. You lose all of your progress, but you now have a meta progress thing where it's like start again, and everything now has a 10% multiplier or something. And then at the end of that, you get to start again. Now everything has a 20% multiplier. So it's even within the sequence of progression systems, there's meta progression, and then sometimes there's like even a third or fourth layer to that as well.
Yep. So going back to Turret Town, I hadn't seen a game doing what my vision of Turret Town was, and so the genre is what I'm dubbing the static shooter.
Oh wow!
And like it's a combination of two things. That there's this like throw rubbish in the hoop game. There are these games where you like flick
paper
things.
toss.
Yeah, paper toss.
Yeah, I made one of those.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I made a flick
so
game.
that's one of the elements.
Yeah.
Right. You throw a thing into motion, but what you're launching units with very basic AI onto a battlefield, and then you're killing giant monsters.
Yeah,
is the concept of Turret Town.
And the units are just doing their thing, right?
Yeah, and they'll just use their pathfinding and just walk around and kill the nearest monster.
Yep.
Depending on which unit you're using.
Or rebuild the city, right? Because some of them you
Yep.
can
You had some
rebuild.
engineers, I think they're called.
Yep.
They-
Yep.
they-
Engineer. Yeah, there are 5 different units. There's a clown as well, and that was kind of a weird joke thing, but it's lost like the idea of it.
Right.
But there's a clown there, and it distracts
Yeah.
the monster.
like a rodeo clown.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the concept, and then I was just wrapping a game around it. Bringing it back to Mario, I like that Nintendo. It's just tap interactions.
Yes.
That's the control.
Yes.
And so I like how they, they removed a whole bunch of like controller wise,
Mm-hmm.
but retained all the whole platforming of Mario.
Yeah.
So it's I enjoyed it for that fact.
For you enjoyed it from a control scheme perspective. They took what is typically hard to handle on mobile, which is controls, and made it work in such a way that you liked.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about mobile games and controls. So I played Super Mario Run. I didn't super like it. It wasn't due to the controls. I do think the controls are pretty well handled.
Mm-hmm.
It was more due to the progression structure and the nature of one-directional, like single-directional runner games.
You don't like that?
I don't mind them, but I do have a problem with the Mario one because you can easily miss something like a red coin.
Yep.
Towards the start of the level, and there's no way to go back.
Or you replay the level?
Right, that's the thing. You have to replay the level. So let's say you play, 4/5 of the level. You get the first 4 red coins, and you miss that last one. You have to replay the level, and that is a frustrating mechanic because that level may take a minute. Doesn't sound like much, but if you keep missing that coin, or you spread this across multiple levels where it takes you several tries or whatever, it's quite frustrating to have to go through something that you know very well just to get to the part that you need to improve on.
But do you need to get the red coins?
They are an element of progression. They help you unlock stuff. On top of that, you have to pay quite a lot of money to unlock the rest of the levels. It was like $13 or something.
I would know. I just played one level.
Okay, yeah. They don't give away that many levels for free. They do have a competitive element, which is quite cool. I don't know if you've tried that. Basically, you sort of go head to head with another person. You can see their ghost on screen,
That's cool.
and
cool.
it does a combination of score and speed to figure out who wins. It's kind of neat. Or maybe it's style points. They have a style point system. It's a bit weird. It's pretty cool. That's my favorite part of that game is the competitive head element.
Yep.
But there's a game called Super Cat Bros, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Which is the best mobile platformer I've played. And the reason for this is the same reason you outlined, Saveun. They do some novel things with controls. In Super Cat Bros, you play as a cat, and there's platforms and enemies and all sorts of stuff. So your typical platformer affair. But the way they handle maneuvering your cat is really interesting. If you hold your finger down on one side of the screen, your character or your cat, whatever, is going to run in that direction. You hold it down on the other side, it's going to run in that direction. If you double tap, your cat will sprint in that direction.
Okay.
While you're holding it down, so you tap and then hold it down, and it'll run in that direction.
Gotcha.
If while you're running you hit the edge of a platform, it'll automatically jump.
Oh, cool.
And if you run into a vertical wall while you're dashing, it'll sort of run partially up that wall, and then you can tap the other side of the screen to make it jump off of the wall. So you can do some wall jumps. The way it's handled, it doesn't really matter. You're not moving your finger back and forth trying to carefully maneuver on this screen that doesn't give you any feedback. It's all just taps, but it's different combinations of taps. So it gives you quite a high element of precision without forcing you to use the imprecise slidey movement that most mobile games end up sort of going back to. I really struggle with like virtual sticks.
Yep.
You
know what I
worst.
mean?
They're the worst. Anytime I'm looking through that
Racing
store-
games.
Oh,
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is
Anything with an accelerometer, get
Yeah.
out of here.
right. Or anything where like the direction is relative to where you first put your finger. Like how you touch on a point and now that's your zero
Yep.
axis.
Yep.
And anywhere you move from that point, if it feels extremely imprecise because you can then lift your finger off, put it back where it was originally, and that's your new 0 point. It's hard to keep track of that.
I do like that solution though. If you are to have a virtual D-pad, I do like that.
that is probably the best solution, I think.
Because
but
there's no freaking physical, no
Yeah,
haptic
yeah.
feedback.
Yes.
you used to be able to. I don't know if you still can, but you used to be able to get these like plastic
I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw.
on things
Yep.
that
Right, the like sticks that you actually put on your screen.
Yeah,
they-
you
they-
put them on the screen and then
have the conductivity
you feel the feedback.
Right,
But that's not a solution, really.
right. So Super Cat Bros gets rid of the whole virtual stick thing entirely,
cool.
and it feels quite good.
Mm.
So it's worth taking a look at that game if mobile
Super
controls.
Cat Bros.
Yeah, it's
Right.
a play on Super Mario Bros. It
Yeah.
looks a lot like Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
They do a lot of like, it's very clearly referencing Mario to some
Are there
degree.
pipes?
There aren't pipes,
Uh-uh.
no, but they do have. There's just some very Mario like elements. They've got like
Okay.
hidden levels and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's quite cool.
That's cool.
So that I quite enjoyed that. I think I did all of the content on that. So that's definitely worth looking at if you're interested in control schemes.
Tell you what, paywalls suck.
Yes.
But I really liked Clash Royale for what it did. Like that the idea, the concept of that was incredible to me. To the point where I had to get in there and play it.
Right. Did you? What did you
I
think
don't
of
do
it?
that often, dude. I love it. The idea is fantastic.
Are you still playing it?
No shit, no.
When did you?
I'm not good at all.
When did you start playing it?
When did I start playing it?
Yeah.
Probably about a week. When it came out, I remember there was quite a bit of buzz at work,
Yeah.
and I probably got it like a week after.
Okay. So it was shortly after it came out.
Yeah,
And you played for how long?
probably 3 months or so.
Wow, that's very long for you.
Yeah, I wanted to see how it dealt with treasure chests and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, everything about it. The whole card aspect of it, even though, you have to
It's a,
take out a mortgage to
Right.
get high level cards.
it's a game that I mean, it's not flawless, but the flaws only become apparent after quite a long time. Especially if you're a free player. Like the paywall is very well hidden.
Does that
But
paywall just start to loom up in front of you, and you're like,
It's
you first realize there's a paywall, then you're like, it's probably not that bad. But as you get closer, you realize it's actually way bigger, and
sort of. You hit a point where progression gets so slow that it's going to be literally a month
yeah,
to upgrade one card.
yep,
And they've got 50 or whatever,
Yeah.
you know? So you hit that point, but it takes you quite a while to get to that point. You're getting upgrades fast
yeah.
early on, and you're unlocking new cards really quickly early on. And their matchmaking is really good so that you never feel like you're behind the curve.
Mm-hmm.
But you do eventually get a point where it's like, okay, I can't actually keep climbing the ladder because I can't get my cards up a level.
I like how it had the card element where you could work up a deck, and then it was like a strategy game in there. But then it came down to like unit placement. It was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
crazy.
It was great. It reminded me of like the last like 5 minutes of a really intense like StarCraft match or something, where it's like this is the play that's gonna like determine the match. It was that condensed into just one game.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, the actual gameplay in that is really enjoyable. Despite it's very simple. You don't actually do that much in terms of like your finger on the screen. You choose your unit and you choose where it goes, or you choose your spell and you choose where it goes. You don't do anything else really besides that. But it timing is very important, and location is very important, and there are ways to show skill in that game, which is very important for a competitive game.
You played it quite a bit.
I played it way too much.
Do you still play it?
No, because I hit that point where it was very, very long time for me to upgrade any cards.
Yeah.
And also because I was getting really annoyed.
Did you hear from the developers that they balance all their cards around level 9 unit? The level 9 cards.
Yeah, there's a tournament level.
Yep.
Where the cards, I think it is level 9 rares and like level 11 commons and level 5 epics.
Have you guys watched any Clash Royale tournaments?
I watched the first one.
Because I know Cam at work has watched. I've walked past his desk and he's just got like a Clash Royale tournament going on.
Yeah, I watched the first one.
Oh,
and Jason carved up.
Oh yeah, maybe that must have been the one you linked to me, or somebody linked me, and I saw.
Yeah, that was the one where I was like, "Holy shit, this guy!"
Yeah,
he ruined everyone,
man.
And it was because of those elixir towers or whatever.
Oh, the elixir pumps.
Yeah,
yeah. So one thing we were talking about this earlier today, Blake and I, while we were eating delicious burgers.
Mm-hmm.
The paywall thing, like the amount of money it takes to upgrade a card once you're like months into the game, and the balance problems that any competitive game has, they do not mesh well. So in a game like League of Legends, where you have your hero, your roster of heroes, each hero has a flat price, and once you own that hero, that you own it outright. Anything that changes that hero will change everybody's hero. Your hero is the same strength as everyone else's hero. Mm-hmm. Clash Royale is different because you have card levels, right? A level 1 version of a card is going to not be as good as a level 2 version of the card, etc., etc. Problem is, you invest a lot to get these card levels up. So you get your level 10 card or whatever. It's taken months to get your card to level 10 because you're opening chests every day and you're not getting that card very often. It's spread out because there's 40 other cards you could potentially be getting. And let's say that card is really good. It's a little bit overpowered, in fact. So you've invested all this money and time into it, and then they tinker with the balance, and now that card is either not as good, or it may even be underpowered. Mm-hmm. You've now invested all of that time and money into something that you can't really use competitively anymore, and there's not a good solution for that. Right? In a lot of card games, for example, Hearthstone, you will choose your deck. You'll say, I'm going to play Druid. And you spend your money and you get Druid cards and you upgrade and you focus on that because it's the most efficient way to get your deck up to a competitive level. And the balance of those cards rarely changes. Mm-hmm. But because of the way Clash Royale balance gets tinkered with, it's very hard to not feel bad when your card changes in power. You know what I mean? It's if you spend all this time and money working out the perfect deck, you've got all these strong cards, you've upgraded them, you spent all this gold and time, whatever, and then they nerf one of them, or they buff one of the counters to one of your key cards or whatever it is. Now the position of your deck in the meta has changed, and to get your deck back up to a competitive level will mean like months more time and money trying to upgrade a new card to just get it up to a reasonable level of power. It's very, very frustrating.
No,
once you get to those high levels.
I get that, man.
Yeah.
And if I know anything about Nick, doesn't like to get frustrated.
Very frustrating. Hate it.
But man, is there a tournament mode in Clash Royale?
There is, but it's usually behind a paywall.
Oh yeah, they introduced that weird tournament thing where you had to pay for a tournament, right? Or then you had to pay to enter tournaments, and it was super weird.
Yeah, I think they may have changed it. I haven't really been paying attention very much.
They must have, because I'm sure Cam has been talking about entering tournaments.
Yeah, so they had two.
Or maybe
things.
he's paid for it. I don't know.
So they introduced the tournament mode where someone, and this is just the dumbest thing, because this was just completely backwards. You had to spend a bunch of money to create a tournament, and then people would join the tournament for free. and earn cards. So you, as the tournament creator, your only advantage in creating the tournament is that you get to compete in the tournament. But you, as a random player, are highly rewarded by spamming, refreshing the tournament list, trying to get into someone else's tournament. Mm-hmm.
Why do you
trying to hack their passwords
that?
Or whatever it is?
Why do you think they did it that way?
I think what they were picturing was your local pub or whatever.
I knew you'd say like a Barcraft type situation.
Exactly. Yeah. They put $100 in.
Yeah.
They they set up a tournament for once a month or whatever, and they.
Is it $100? How much
Um,
is it to start one of these
It
tournaments?
depends.
yeah,
so
actually, how much is it to start?
I think the cheapest one at the time when it launched was 500 gems, and 500 gems was like $10 or something like that.
Okay.
But that was like the lowest possible tier. They
Right.
had ones that went up to like 10,000 gems. Something
Jesus.
Like that. They got real high.
See,
Like,
why not have like free tournaments, like free to start, free to enter, and then have like a scaling price thing
Right.
for barcraft type situations, and where they might get more, I don't know, more reward for doing that.
Well, I don't think anybody would pay would pay for it. I think
If you
I
can,
don't-
if there's always a free one,
Right.
then yeah.
The real question is why didn't they make it that there was always a tournament that was up and it costs 5 gems to enter
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's weird. That,
instead of front loading the cost onto an individual and
Mm.
expecting them to pay everyone else's way in. You like if 500 gems gets 100 players in, you can get 100 players in at 5 gems each, right? Splitting that's a very
Yeah.
low cost to
Hmm.
get in.
Yeah.
and like especially that you actually don't get anything for hosting a tournament.
Right. It's
Like if you got an awesome as chest at the end of it, it'd be like, well done, you hosted this tournament, and you get a little portrait or
A
something.
doormat.
Yeah, yeah.
you got an achievement, and the first time you did it, the achievement paid for the tournament, so everyone
Oh,
did one
okay.
tournament. But then the
Ah.
next one, it was very kind of misleading as well
Yep.
because like you assume that
It sets a precedent.
well, there are different levels to the achievements in that game.
Okay.
Like oftentimes it's like win a game, win 10 games,
Yep.
win 100 games, and you get rewards at each of those tiers.
Host 10 tournaments.
That's
Host 100 tournaments.
That is exactly
no
right.
way.
That's what they did. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, I got refunded for the first one. I'll get
Yeah.
refunded for the second one as well." This is just how
Yeah,
tournaments
yeah.
work.
No.
But so a bunch of people like would buy a second tournament and then go, "Oh, that's all my gems gone,
oh,
and I can't get it back now."
Oh no.
it
Do they
was-
get? So there is an achievement for hosting 10 tournaments.
Yeah.
Do you get all the money that would have costed 10 tournaments?
No, I don't think
There's only
so.
one way to find out.
Yeah,
mate.
it's just, you got to do it.
I don't think so. I think you got like one tournament, maybe 2 tournaments refunded.
Man, that's
But it's real sketchy, and
Yeah.
I think they changed it. I remember they dropped the price a bit, and they lowered the number of players per tournament, and they
so
made some
weird.
changes.
Such a weird thing.
And then they introduced this other competitive element, which is more like what I'm talking about, where
Mm.
you'd pay a small fee, and it was just like you'd go head to head with someone.
Mm.
But it was just like such a poorly conceived idea at launch that it was kind of amazing that it got it into the game at all.
Hmm.
Do you know how many people work on that game at Supercell?
No. Do you?
Take a guess. I know roughly.
I would have guessed maybe 90 people.
90.
Yeah.
I was going to say like 10.
Yeah, it's more closer to 10.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's something like 15 people.
Interesting. Because that is surprising. I mean,
Yeah.
the
And
art
Clash
was-
of Clans is still going.
By the way, they've got a what is that? GDC talk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and that's pretty cool if you're into this kind
that's
of stuff.
cool.
like I said, I really liked the core game mechanics.
Mm.
It's just after a while.
Yeah, it was just
No, dude,
the
I
flaws start to-
hate that as well, and I see it. But one of the points that the guy mentioned on the talk was, we balance all the cards at this one level.
Yeah.
Why not give that to everyone? So they don't have to freaking.
Mm.
They're not just beaten by players with more money.
Right. Well, it's the investment to get to that level is. I mean, if you wanted to get to it in one day, it'd probably cost you a few $100s,
Jesus.
which is quite a lot. But if you play for a few weeks or for a couple months, you probably get to it. I think by the time I quit, I'd played for 8-9 months or something
It
like
is-
that, and I could have had all of my cards around that level. I think.
Yeah.
And it's good that that's where they balance it, but the ladder isn't like that, and the ladder is the mode that everyone else plays.
Yep.
So, a bit silly.
Mm.
Yeah. At the point, I think when I quit, it would have taken me several $100s to upgrade any individual card.
We were just at lunch with your girlfriend, and she seemed very happy that you were no longer playing Clash Royale.
Yeah.
I think she said, "Thank God for that."
Yeah. Yeah. So the other part of this is if you've ever played like a head-to-head competitive game, like Hearthstone, for example,
Yeah.
or even StarCraft, It sucks when you're behind and then you lose.
Yep.
I'm not a great loser.
Really? That's weird. Thought you'd be used to that. Fuck, got you with that one. Yeah.
Ouch. It takes, in a game of Hearthstone or whatever, the games are like 15 minutes, let's say.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes. So if you lose that game, it sucks. And you get into the next one, and you lose that one, it sucks as well, whatever. But the amount of time between those losses is, 15 minutes. In a game like Clash Royale, the maximum amount of time between those losses would be like 4 minutes. If you lose back to back a whole bunch of times within about half an hour, it gets pretty upsetting.
See, that's
especially when the problem is that there is like some card imbalance and you can't fix it because you're so invested in the cards that you have. So there's just I found that very frustrating after a while.
That's like that Dota thing that I hear from Dota players where they're like, when they're on a roll, like they don't want to stop because they're like, oh yeah, we just won a whole bunch in a row. That's awesome. But when they lose, they're like, can't go out on a loss. Got to keep playing. And then they'll be up till like 4 a.m.
Yep, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk more about your game.
Oh, my game?
Yeah. Let's talk about
that. That was pretty much it, man. I finally got it out there. I'm done with it, man.
Awesome.
But let's talk
Have
about.
you moved on to something else? I think you mentioned you had ideas.
I'll tease something when I've got something to show.
Oh shit.
Well, I'm curious more about.
Turret Town?
Huh?
With Turret Town?
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the things there. Let's talk about what the main game mode is. You've got sort of a progressively more challenging series of levels, right? What made you decide on that structure versus sort of an endless mode versus whatever,
There is an endless mode.
Yes.
By the way.
I think there is because I suggested it a while ago.
What?
Do you remember I suggested that?
No, that was my initial thing. Like the leaderboard was something I really wanted.
Oh yeah.
And the leaderboard was something I'm quite proud of because every platform, Google has their own leaderboard, iOS. So the Turret Town leaderboard, I think it's like leaderboard.turrettown.com. You can go there.
Check it out, leaderboard.turrettown.com.
But you can
tweet at it.
You can see everyone up on there from all the various platforms.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Have
you been able to tell if anyone's hacked their score?
Some people do have crazy high scores, but
Or you think that's just they're just crazy good?
They are good, and it's because my design is so bad.
Oh shit!
If that makes any sense, I kind of put
the game design.
Yeah, I put very loose things together, and I was like, "Yeah, this works in my head."
Oh man!
But I never stress tested anything.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are doing really well are just taking advantage of that.
Oh man!
So let's talk about the game design part of this, because as a game designer, I'm interested.
Yeah.
So,
all right. The units are two offensive units and 2 technical units and 1 special unit.
Is the special unit the clown?
The special unit is a superhero type character.
Oh wow!
And you just launch the guy directly at a monster, and he will take damage. A lot of damage. Like he will deal a lot of damage to the monster.
Yep.
So he's basically a bullet.
And then is the superhero dead?
Well, it's just a one-use thing. There's a meter attached to him.
Oh, okay.
You can buy him outright.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't die. He goes through the monster.
Yeah.
And then he just flies away.
And then he comes back sometime.
Yep.
To get shot out of the cannon again.
Yeah, when
he
you
loves
need
it.
Awesome.
He's a superhero.
What's his name?
I never named him. I just call him
Cannon
the
Man.
super. He's a super.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've got 2 offensive guys.
Yeah, there's like a basic soldier, and then there's like a sort of a
guy with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you've got your clown and your engineer, right?
Yep.
And then you got super
clown distracts, engineer heals units and repairs buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And so the wave mode is, 1 monster spawns, take him down. The next wave, 2 monsters spawn, that kind of thing. It's just a progression.
Yep.
The design, dude, it was so basic. It was just, so there is the endless wave mode, and that will get you onto the leaderboard. And then you have it's called extermination mode, and it's different configurations of landscape. and you have very limited resources, and you have to take down a certain amount of monsters,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
And yeah, the difficulty increases just as you progress.
So when you were designing your units, because I remember when we were talking about it, you were very hesitant to show anybody for a very long time.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
just because it's your first game and you're like, I don't know what people will think?
I'm not sure if you've had this, but talking with other creatives, you kind of just keep it, and you don't want to share it because ideas are everyone's got these ideas, and
Yeah.
you kind of don't want anyone to run into it and execute your idea.
Hmm.
If you're protective like that, and I definitely have this for all my projects.
Right.
So I disagree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like you need to hold back, like design ideas, for example.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, if there is a fundamental flaw in your
Wait, you're talking design ideas,
yeah
like game concepts,
yeah
the whole thing. Okay.
well, I mean, especially like specific mechanics and interactions.
Okay.
If there is a flaw in it, you want to find that out as early as you possibly can, right? Because if you go through with implementation and you build everything up around this, and then you suddenly realize, oh, there's this big problem. And you have to change a whole bunch.
I'm not afraid of that, Nick. I'm afraid of. I happen to talk to a person who wants to make a game,
Yeah.
and they're just looking for an idea, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds unique."
The
I'll
thing
make
is,
it.
everyone has ideas,
No, I know.
Right. and everyone wants to make their own ideas. I think it's very rare that you hear someone else's idea and you go, "That's a good idea. I'm going to try and make it before them," because it's probably the case that they have more detailed instructions in their head for that idea.
Yep.
Right?
If you're if you're paranoid like me,
Yeah, I think that's more what it comes down to. Is you were like kind of like everyone wants to.
But I know certain people, and
Okay.
these people are hungry, and they would like
man.
they want to do something.
Are you
They're
just
looking for
describing like a dude on the street, like a homeless guy, or
Certain
Who's
people I know.
hungry?
yeah?
Wants
You're
to
so,
Anyway,
yeah.
I didn't want to risk it
Okay.
because I'd been marinating on this idea for a while. It's something I'd been thinking of for a
Making me
while.
hungry now.
Yeah, it was something I was consciously thinking,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
something I wanted to develop, and that's why I was holding it so close.
So, while making this, you had some freelance programmers. You did the art yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do the animations yourself as well?
Yeah, man, I did that. It's kind of lacking. I like to blame Unity a whole bunch.
I mean,
It's good to blame Unity.
well, let's talk about some of the things you were happy with.
Mhm.
What did you like out of that game?
I got to work with some cool people.
Well, let's talk about. I mean, the final product.
What am I happy with?
Yeah.
The leaderboard's cool.
Yep.
It's a game. Like I'm proud that I made this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that's yours, not like I mean, the stuff you do in Path of Exile is yours, but it's
Yep.
it's very much like
It's ultimately not mine.
They're pieces
Yeah.
of a larger.
yeah.
Product.
This is 100%.
Yeah, so I like that about it, and I do like the idea. I could definitely keep rattling about it. I even
cool.
like put a backstory and like about the universe and everything.
That's cool.
There's another cartoon that kind of reminded me a lot of elements of Turret Town, a very old Japanese cartoon. What am I proud of? It was just the fact that I had an idea, and over the course of 3 years made it.
Well, yeah, that's impressive. I mean, it's hard to have that, like, because games require so many elements. Making a product independently is not a simple task. This is why
this is what I wanted to figure
yeah.
out. Because I obviously want to make my own games.
Yeah.
And this is the first step to that.
So let's talk about what you didn't like. What did you learn?
People, man.
What are the
Oh,
mistakes?
shit.
People are the problem.
Money up front.
Dude. Yeah. Don't
Don't pay
Don't-
anybody
don't-
for work that isn't done.
Don't trust people.
That is shitty though. Like,
Yeah,
what an asshole.
Yeah, man.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, the whole process around that as well, it sucks. What bothers me is that it's hard to find people, good people,
Yep.
How were you?
like-minded people.
How were you finding people?
There's a website called Upwork,
Okay.
and it works like any freelance searching website, and that's pretty good. You can put a job out, get applicants.
Did you find a lot of ideas people on there who
No.
were like,
No, the good thing is the people there want to work.
oh, that's
so,
cool.
So you list your skills.
Yeah.
And an employer will list a job,
Oh, right.
and it'll have certain keywords and requirements and skills that they need.
Yeah.
You need to be proficient with C#, Unity development,
Oh,
that
man.
kind of thing. And yeah, after you post something, it's really just defining how much you're willing to pay,
Right.
hourly rate, fixed
Yeah.
rate.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's like properly professional.
Yeah, it's
that's
really
that's
good.
awesome. Yeah.
And the cool thing is the support team on Upwork.
Yeah.
Because I've put a couple of jobs out there. They're really good. They'll occasionally ask you how the project's going,
Oh, cool.
and if you're confident about the person you're working with.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. Oh, man, did you give feedback about the money up front guy?
That guy I didn't find on Upwork.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
there you go.
I know.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because Upwork has its own payment system. They
Yep.
also have their own tools that will have freelancers log hours through.
Oh,
so
right.
I'm working with a guy now,
Yeah.
and they'll be using some of Upwork's tools, and it will actually take a screenshot of their screen as they're working on
Oh,
it. So
right.
as they
yeah,
log
yeah.
hours.
I think you might have told me about this before. Like, so you can clearly see that they're working on stuff. And
That's pretty cool.
And this is how many hours they've put
Yeah.
in. Yeah, yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're very developed.
Man,
Like
yeah,
that.
that's really cool. I must have told you about when I was looking for a job and I went to a website that was called.
When you said ideas people, I was like, yeah, I know. With like,
Yeah, where this is going. Where I went to a website and it was just like a forum with people looking for work and stuff, and 90% of it were people saying like, I got a great idea for a game.
Yep.
I'm looking for someone to make it. If it's good, you get 2% of the profits, and I get like the rest, kind of thing. Like one of those.
But you must be able to model and animate and program.
No,
and
you have to do everything.
Yeah.
But because I came up with the idea, I get 98% of the profit.
So a lot of it was learning. I wanted to learn the process of publishing something to the App Store.
Yeah.
Getting ads, microtransactions in the iOS store, of course. And that whole leaderboard stuff was interesting too. I'm not going to be doing anything like that for future projects.
Why is that?
The whole back-end website thing, it's a step that I don't think anyone would ever use. We developed tools to maintain it as well.
Right.
Oh man.
That took up time. And
But now that you have those tools, do you not want to get more use out of them?
not really. They seem to be pretty basic.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't be doing that again because there are simpler solutions and no one really cares about that thing. I thought it would be a cool idea,
Right.
and
What was your favorite part to work on?
my little brother designed this one character,
Oh, cool.
which was it's cool because I could just say, look, I need the idea was I need another monster. I designed the first green monster.
Yep.
It's called Gary, by the way.
Okay. Gary the Green Monster.
Yep.
Why Gary?
He's like I don't know, it was the first name that came to mind.
Okay.
But he's got that Ren and Stimpy type look. You know,
Yes.
you can just see it.
I did notice that. He's,
Oh,
he,
man. He totally does.
I think it's a show. Is it Phineas and Ferb? Is that?
Oh man, I don't know that.
There's like some weird animal on that show that
Yep.
that your little green dude reminded me of.
The naked butt, I'm quite proud of.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
So my little, it was just working with family, man. I very rarely work on them on projects like this, so it was cool just to say, look, I need another monster,
Right.
and to see what they would come back. And talking to my little brother at that time, he was like, like my inspiration was Mr. Krabs from the Krusty Krab in SpongeBob, and he's just this lobster-looking thing.
Cool.
And it's awesome. The concept that was badass too. It's all on the blog that I put together.
Nice.
And those things kind of tested my rigging ability, and like ways I animated them,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Because you don't currently, at least not at work, you don't do very much animation.
No, not at all. I used to do drop animations, and that required a little bit of keyframing,
Right.
body arms and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do nothing like that now.
Yeah. Do you miss animating?
Sometimes I'd like to go back in there
Yeah.
and get a run cycle together.
Oh man.
But it's been years since I actually made anything.
Right.
You know, it'd be garbage, of course. But
So I know that you're working on something now, which I'm sure you don't want to talk about in detail because you're
it's
obviously I'm going to steal the idea and make it.
Yeah, that's why I can't talk about it.
But does that involve more animating?
No.
Interesting. So what does this current game involve? We don't have to talk about ideas or concepts, but I'm curious from a work standpoint.
It's just
is there anything new here for you?
for me.
Yeah.
No, it's more just to make a very polished product
Okay.
at this point.
Do you feel that you achieved a level of polish with Turret Town that you were happy with?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
No. It's definitely got some rough edges.
Yeah, I know that the screen between missions, I found, were of a different tone than the rest of the game.
Okay. Yeah, the idea there was that you were meant to be a guy looking through like an old computer. And
Right.
so that determined the font and
Yeah.
like how you kind of
Yeah.
look through it. The actual borders are you know, those old monitors, how they start to go yellow. I tried to get a little bit of that in there.
But I think what you needed was the actual monitor frame as well.
It is a frame.
Is there a frame there?
Kind of. Oh yeah, I probably should have included a little more of it. You mean?
Yeah, make it look like a.
Yeah.
If for example you had like the actual computer monitor and you could maybe see the office wall in the background with like a post-it note.
Yep.
Would have been perfect.
Yeah.
I think. But it's interesting. So what about this new project is going to be? Like you're now focusing on getting something polished,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what way? Like, are you talking art? Are you talking gameplay?
Yeah, gameplay.
all of it?
The entire experience. I want it. It's very pulled back. It's way less. A lot less art is required,
Okay.
which means I can actually spend a lot of time on
On the
art.
assets
Yeah.
that you do have.
Yep.
Yep.
And there's no. I hope it doesn't take another 3 years, but we've got time, and it's very early right now. So just looking at it from what kind of knowledge I have now, looking back on Turret Town, I feel confident I could make something.
Make something better.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. That's exciting.
And I'm working with Noah, so
Nice.
cool.
you know it's
You found someone
home
good
run.
to work with.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
important. So what are you working on, Blake?
I'm working
what
on
game have
nothing.
you launched?
Nothing.
That's what I thought.
Ain't done nothing.
Should we ask some or
Yes, let's ask
answer
some questions.
Let's ask some questions. Why?
how
Who?
What do you think of tables? Just
I prefer chairs. I'm more of a chairs
you like
guy.
to eat off
yeah.
of chairs?
Yeah, I'm more of a chairs guy.
Cool.
Talking about who? New Doctor Who.
Let's read some questions from users. If you want to ask us some questions, you can email us frontseatquestions@gmail.com. We've got a Twitter @frontseatcast. Facebook.com/frontseatcast is our Facebook page. Frontseatgamer.wordpress.com is our website, and we have a YouTube channel. Blake keeps uploading bits to it. Or bites? Do you call them bites?
Call them bites.
What were the recent ones?
Let's see. The last one, I put up one about. Do you remember me talking about the T-Rex saddle and how much oil was needed to make a T-Rex saddle in Ark?
This does ring a bell, yes.
Yeah, I put that one up, and I put
Why?
one.
Why that saddle gotta be so greasy though?
Well, that's answered in the in the clip. I don't want to spoil anything,
Okay.
but there's some saddle rash happening that you need oil to help with.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, then there was another clip about how much your. It was the question we got about someone was posting their work colleague was posting a lot of like offensive stuff on Twitter, and they wanted to know
yes, I remember that one.
Like how much of that is sort of should affect them, like how much your
Right.
social media presence would affect your
Employability.
job.
Yeah. Don't post hate speech. That's a good starting point, I think. Well, yep. Maybe we'll post one of those on the Facebook page.
We got a good one coming up about a haunted chair. Nick
Oh,
has
yes.
a haunted chair story.
I do remember the haunted chair. Do you remember the haunted chair?
No.
You're in for a treat.
You should listen to the bite.
All right.
All right, let's read this question. This is from Phoenix. He says, "Hey guys, love the show. With all the talk of strategy in RTS last episode, this is episode 53, so we're now
Oh yeah, that was we've been
we've been real slack with the questions. Sorry guys. I thought it would be fitting to share a cool little game with you guys. It's a 40k license in Warhammer and not canon, but felt it's been done in a modern way while still keeping true to the Dungeons and Dragons roots. It was developed for mobile, and the devs have made a PC port that is paid without having microtransactions. Total Biscuit enjoyed it on one of his streams. He gives a URL. It's cool doing XCOM and Hearthstone stuff as well as Rory's Seven Gates. I guess if Nick has a chance to take a look at it, my question would be, could Hearthstone and their adventures use a similar effect? So for listeners, I would describe it as like Heroes of Might and Magic style turn-based tactics, but with card game elements to determine what moves the units can use. Is that about right?
Yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah. And so the question is, could basically Hearthstone use a similar mechanic?
That would be cool. Like what? That would be. Oh, I don't know. It would just be visualization, though, right? It would be like Yu-Gi-Oh. In the end.
Well, I think part of what sets this apart from Hearthstone is in Hearthstone, positioning on the board matters because you've got like skills or cards that will like deal damage to 3 units that are next to each other, but not any other units. So positioning can be important as a defense mechanism, or you've got like units that will add attack to the units on either side of it. So the like friendly unit positioning can be important, but it's very simple positioning. Whereas this tactics game it's a giant plain grid. You've got say like 5x5 squares or whatever it is. There's and so there's a lot more locations that units can be, and that probably also means that line of sight is important, and like there are probably skills that deal damage in an area rather than in a line, or there's lots of different things you can do with that added complexity. But that added complexity does also create a barrier. The audience that plays Hearthstone might find that game more challenging. So the Hearthstone adventures, which they're not really doing anymore, they do have some where positioning is important. But it is a very simplified version of that. I don't know that this mechanic would translate very well to Hearthstone, but I do like this mechanic. I'm a big fan of cards as a dice roll alternative.
Yeah,
basically.
I like that too. I was just telling you as well that there's a couple of games in the App Store, like dungeon crawling, D&D style games that use cards.
Yeah,
and like when you get a new weapon, you get 3 or 4 skill cards associated with that weapon, and then you add that to your deck, and it's like got a deck building kind of thing, as well as like it's got loot and it's got like a deck thing.
Yeah,
and
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love the idea of you get this item and it adds a bunch of cards.
Yeah,
'cause that's quite interesting. That could be both good and bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting.
Yeah.
For example, you could get a rocket launcher, and it could add like say 6 cards. 2 of them are like deal damage to yourself when you use it, but maybe they do more damage, or maybe there could be a very powerful weapon that only adds 1 card to your deck, so the odds of actually being able to find and use that card are very low. So it adds.
I mean that would be like you get an epic weapon, but it only adds 1 card, but it does insanely cool stuff.
Exactly. So there are interesting balance mechanisms and little levers you can tug on from a design standpoint to make interesting things
Yeah.
happen with that system.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm surprised there aren't more games like it around.
I think what we're seeing is, I think we're seeing the early stages of it right now.
Yeah.
Clash Royale is a very good example of an early stage.
Mm.
It's replacing your unit UI from your normal RTS or your
Yeah.
tower defense or whatever kind of game with cards.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
there is a deck
Yeah,
building
yeah.
element there, and there is some randomness there because you don't know what your opening hand's going to be, and you have to sort of cycle through cards
Mm.
to get into good positions. And we're seeing, this game obviously has a little more complexity than Clash Royale, and we'll probably see more and more of that. So I'm actually really excited. I think that for Hearthstone, that mechanic probably is a poor fit, but I think that as a mechanic broadly in the game,
Yeah, it would be a different game.
yeah, it is. It would be. In fact, there are.
It would be cool to have a game like that in the Warcraft world, though, and you could
That's
have
true.
cards from Hearthstone in it.
Yeah,
As skills.
that's a very good point. There are some Hearthstone-ish games that have come out after Hearthstone
Yep.
that use a similar combat structure.
Hmm.
Nikolai plays one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all of your cards are like units that you play onto a field, but the field is basically a grid, or maybe it's hexes,
Right.
and you try and capture resources and fight your opponent and do certain objectives on this little grid.
Is it more complicated than Hearthstone? Because I feel that Nikolai really likes complex games.
It is, yeah. Yeah, Hearthstone is a very simple game
Yeah.
for a card game. In fact, this current expansion has some of the highest complexity cards. There's a card called Vicious Hatchling or Vicious Fledgling or something. It's basically a 3/3 bird that when you attack, you get to do the keyword of adapt, which is like you choose a thing that changes the card.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the core features of this set. And it's the first card in Hearthstone that feels to me like, and I talked about this with Carl as well, he felt the same way.
Oh yeah.
Feels like a magic card.
Oh.
And magic cards are quite complex.
Oh boy.
So this feels like a basic magic card.
Oh boy.
and so it's sort of showing they're happy to add a
Yeah.
little complexity, but it's still very quite basic by card game standards.
So Magic's better, is what you're saying.
Magic's more complicated. I don't know if I would say it's better. Magic has some very large flaws that stem from its original design. Land, for example.
Yep.
When you have enough land and you draw land, that feels bad. When
Yep.
you don't have enough land and you keep not drawing land, that feels bad.
Yeah, like Hearthstone's real good with just
Resources.
getting rid of that. Yeah.
Yep. You just get a resource a turn.
Yeah, yeah.
Very reliable. You can build.
I feel
your whole
like
deck
there
around
must
it.
be a Magic version of that where you just every turn you just get a land, right?
There
Could you-
are probably cards that do that.
Like,
but
could you play a version of Magic that is more like that Hearthstone
Right.
resource where you're just getting the resource, the land that you need
you could almost certainly
once
make a variant
every
of it.
turn.
Yeah.
So there is a steady build up.
The other part of this is Magic has 5 different resources.
Yep.
Or 6
That
now,
too,
actually.
that
They've
too,
got
yeah.
colorless as
Oh,
an
wow.
actual required resource now. And whereas Hearthstone just has the one.
Yeah.
So even if you went with this, like, I guess you'd call it like a 2-deck system where you've got your
Yeah,
land
you just
deck.
pick one. You just grab a land from that deck, your land
Yeah.
deck every turn.
It would kill a lot of the usefulness of some of those cards.
Right.
There are cards that fetch you lands,
Yep.
or let you put extra lands into play, or let you interact with your lands in
Right.
a different way, which are very important
Mm-hmm.
for certain styles of deck, and this would basically completely kill them. But it's probably a system worth trying.
Maybe, I don't know.
There are lots of cool Magic variants.
Yeah.
One of my favorite is Plane Chase. If you don't know what that is, you should check it out. I think we pretty much run out of time. We only got one question this week to answer, and we actually have a whole bunch more to answer. We just only answered one.
There's and that one was from like 4 months ago.
It was a while. I mean, episode 53 was the last episode, and we're up to 57.
Okay.
So 2 months,
Yeah, about that.
something like that.
Keep them coming though.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll get around to it.
We'll
Yeah.
get them. They're always being added to the list. It's just
They
the
always
list is
get
just
read.
getting bigger.
Blake always reads every single message that comes through,
Yeah.
and he loves answering them as well.
Yeah,
So-
we just got a message this morning about our Ninja Kiwi episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true.
which was pretty great.
That's from one of our fans, Vivan.
Yeah.
So shout out to Vivan. All right, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Probably have some more stuff to talk about then. Hopefully Blake will have
Played
finished
something.
Zelda.
Oh yeah, finish that. You just want you want.
Yes,
I mean,
I
fair
want-
enough. You
I want my
your Wii U
console
back.
back.
I'm saying that like it's a bad thing. You just want your property back,
Yeah.
don't you?
You just want to take back that thing you lent me like a month ago.
Yeah.
I still have a book I borrowed from Carl like a year ago.
Oh man.
Sorry, Carl. I will read it. I'm still reading it.
You
I'm very
haven't read
sorry. I read like I think I read like 70 pages of it, and then
How many pages are there?
it's not a very long book. I should just read it. I will read it.
it.
I'm sorry, Carl. Very sorry. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Bye.
Hi.
And is part of the it provides texture and it provides flavor as well. Not to the same degree as the fillings, but a good burger bun should add to the burger, not detract from it. It shouldn't just be.
I don't think so. I think it should be as invisible as possible.
That's interesting.
And I'd probably want it to be the thinnest thing possible.
So-
Just to not get in the way of.
What, the burger bun?
Yeah.
Let me ask
You
you
heard
this.
of a low carb burger?
Yeah, have you gotten a
It's just
Carl's Jr. low
lettuce?
carb?
It's just a burger with lettuce, wrapped
Yeah.
with lettuce.
Yeah, lettuce wrap.
Oh, I've never seen this.
Carl's Jr. has them. If you ask for any burger low carb, they'll give you it wrapped in lettuce.
Okay.
That's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah, but I don't think lettuce is a good substitute.
I mean, lettuce is not a good. Yeah, not for that. You need something else, right? Like
I'm saying
love
less,
lettuce.
I'm saying less bread.
like a taco shell.
I
Like a soft taco shell.
Like a soft taco shell,
when I get a burger,
and wrap it up like a long.
Oh yeah.
when I get a burger,
Long burger.
Yeah, you got a long burger.
put some
awesome.
ketchup and mustard on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some hot sauce.
You're
And
talking
some,
about a Subway burger.
yeah, Subway burger.
I'll have a foot long burger, please.
Dude,
A foot long beef patty.
I'd love to have a fast food store that everything was a burger, but everything wasn't a burger. Like you got wraps, but you just call them long burgers. So you just like you got hot dogs, but you call
Right.
them like I don't know, sausage
You,
burgers.
you get like a round hot dog,
yeah,
round hot dog sandwich.
yeah.
It just looks like a burger.
The thing about like kebabs and stuff is that last bit,
Mm.
you know. So I'm not saying soft shell is the way to go, but what I'm trying to say is burger bun is quite a. At some places they can be like quite difficult to get around.
I don't mind.
You don't think so?
Well, I know what you're saying, and I do sometimes.
I
Agree.
think
a badly constructed burger does have that
Yeah.
problem.
There's I tell you what, there's a place just down the road, Turkish place. They do the best hamburgers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
better than your chicken.
No,
burger?
they're not that good. They're good standard burgers. They're just like if I want a
But
burger,
they look like kebabs.
I'll go there. They're these long. they got the bun in a wrap.
They wrap it in tinfoil.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
weird.
They wrap it in
They
tinfoil.
they
and they
shave
put it in
the burger
a
meat
press.
off of this huge
great.
skewer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. But their bun is like this homemade, sort of I don't know, almost not flatbread, but bread. Like it's pretty good.
Did we
Okay.
talk about doing an episode where we talk about food?
We did talk about it, and somebody did
hashtag food, right?
Yeah.
You
Maybe you can sandwich this conversation around.
Oh
the,
shit.
you know,